Hello and welcome to Differential Discussions. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Dave.
And today we're back with another Do That Diff.
I'm a little scared. This one, I'm like looking, and I'm like, I don't know. It looks fine. Yep, this one's fine. Moving on. Yeah, these are always fun. Okay, so working through the white count looks normal, 5.7. Red count looks normal. H&H normal for a female. So yeah, is this a female?
56-year-old male.
Okay. So 13.3 hemoglobin is a tad on the lower side. I don't have ranges necessarily memorized. There's just a tingling feeling that happens, right? When I look at these. MCHC is just like a touch towards the higher side of things, actually, which is interesting. Pay attention to that. MCH6 normal, MCV normal, RDW normal, platelet count normal, neutrophils. So we have slightly more lymphs than neutrophils. And I'm looking at my histograms. Red cell histogram looks beautiful. Platelet histogram looks pretty good. And in the diff channel, I can see my lymphs. I can see a small monocyte population probably, and very, very rare, probably occasional reactive lymphs in the diff. There are EOs and neutrophils. Okay. I think I'm ready to look at the slide.
Where are you seeing reactive lymphocytes?
Oh, sure. Let me grab my annotation. Is it under like whiteboard? No.
It's just under annotate.
I don't. There it is. Okay. So I'm looking at these. That was it was meant to be circular. The audience. But I'm just looking at those small dots. So this part of the scale here, so our y-axis, as this increases, that's an increase in the fluorescence of those particular cells. And then I believe it's side scatter on this axis. So as stuff moves to the right on the x-axis, it's more internally complex. So I'm thinking granulocyte type cells. And then as the y-axis increases, our fluorescence goes up. And just think of like cells that have like a deeply basophilic cytoplasm. And that's, to me, is reactive lymphs. So that's usually what they occupy. Although there can be other cells here, right? I mean, lots of leuks and things like that. But there's such small numbers. Just a quick note. So if I see a reactive lymph, I'm not going to go crazy. And then just to also note here, it's represented as 3%, right? And so I'm seeing there's a decent amount of EOs there as well. So I'm just going to pay attention to that. But yeah.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready. Okay, so I'm looking at the red cell distribution, and it looks really, really normal and looks good. I'm seeing lymphs and polys. Yep, looks fine. Maybe we can just kind of shuffle around a tad.
I want to go to the feathered edge.
Okay, please. So feathered edge is really good for looking for really large cells and platelet clumps and things like that. So I don't see anything particularly alarming out here. Yeah, I think we can go down to our higher mag when you're ready. Right. I'm looking at I'm going to pay close attention to the lymphs because they were elevated. But I'd say as far, and you know, we're at a low power. I shouldn't be doing red cell morph necessarily, but My red cells look pretty normal. My platelets look pretty normal, evenly distributed. The lymphs look big. That might be just because I'm on a lower power. Yeah. And could we jump the gun and go to oil? Because I kind of want to look at that lymph in the center-ish of the field, if you don't mind.
Well, it's not perfectly round.
Yes. So I noticed the nucleus has some
Clefts.
yeah. So I want to pay attention to that. Whoa. Am I? Yeah, I gotta be patient here. It's a little out of focus from, I don't know. Okay. So it's tough, but so with the recording and stuff, that looks like a nucleoli. Is that what you're seeing on your side too?
No.
Okay. All right.
Just
So
clumpy.
I want to keep looking, okay? But I'm looking at the contours of this cell here, and this is generally not normal. Can you have like one random cell that looks a little messed up? Yeah, you can. But I want to note that and kind of look around a little bit more.
Yeah, we got to see if it's the one random one or not.
Yes, exactly. But it did look to me like a lot of these lymphs are kind of on the larger side. Looks like a normal resting lymph. What's up, fella? Paying attention to the little projections on that lymph, but nothing too crazy. Yeah, and I'm loving my red cells. My red cells look great. Okay. Yeah. Little stretchy, little grabby, but nothing crazy. A smudge. EO. So there's my 3% EOs. Nice mono. Wow. Okay. So I'm seeing a little bit of blue, a little bit of touchy, and I thought that there might be a couple of reactive type cells. I would not classify this as reactive. I want to make that clear, but I'm looking at it and I'm noting its characteristics.
It's doing more than just resting. It's just not quite reactive yet.
That's right. That's right. There's a threshold for this stuff, and it's tough when you're instructing, right? Because the student would be like, "Hey, let's," and I'm like, "Yeah, but no." Not too terribly concerning. It's funny, the ones that are the most close to normal might take me the most time to review. So we get another EO, and we have what looks like a monocyte doing his stretchy thing.
But Dave, it's blue right here.
I know, it is. So it's an excellent heuristic that when a cell has pseudopod extension and touching stuff, and when you get that deep blue color at that point of contact, it's like a good hint or push towards lymph. But there's too many other things about this cell that tells me it's not a lymph. So the other thing I'm looking at is what the rest of the cytoplasm is doing, and it's got the bluish gray kind of boring, quote unquote. I don't think monos are boring, but more boring than a lymphocyte. I'm also looking at the nucleus contour. So this one has what you might say irregular contours, but given the chromatin pattern that's consistent with a mono, This is exactly what I would expect. There's a nice amount of grit and texture to the cytoplasm. So yeah, I'd go mono.
And also where it's touching and grabbing a red cell here,
Yeah.
it's not.
It's not even darker colored. Yep. But this patient's platelets and red cells look beautiful. What an awesome poly. Awesome looking neutrophil. So kind of where my mind's going right now is that there's a relative lymphocytosis. I don't have the math exactly tied up in my head to know if it is an absolute or not, but there appears to be some kind of lymphocytosis, and I'm leaning towards it being like a reactive process. Because I've only had one of the really, really weird lymphs. This lymph does have a little bit of a cleft to it, but not crazy so.
Yeah, it's not a really odd contour. It's just
Right.
a slight cleft.
Yeah. And the kidney bean or circular shaped nucleus, I think that looks fairly normal. And the chromatin patterns on all these cells have looked beautiful for the most part.
Yeah.
Did you have something to add, or?
The cleft isn't like a huge cleft, and there's not a lot of lymphs that are clefting, which would differentiate it from more of like a malignant process.
Right. Yep. So initially, the very first lymph that we went down on and started looking closely at, the thing I wanted to try to be sensitive for was Sézary syndrome. So I'm looking for whether or not this indentation or cleft that could be normally appearing in lymphs, if that has a continuation through the chromatin pattern to create almost two like hemispheres, that's not good. And we'd have to rule out a Sézary syndrome or what is it, mycosis fungoides or whatever, depending on the staging of the disease. Yeah, and like this lymph, little bit of basophilia in the cytoplasm, and I noticed those things, and to me, they kind of confirm that this might be a reactive process. I would not call this a reactive lymph. I want to make that clear. So I'm going to be a hypocrite and say that this is a reactive lymphocytosis without calling a single reactive lymph. But that's where I think we're at with this particular patient.
Yes, indeed. You're right.
Yay! That feels good.
And there can be, and then I think this is probably hardest for students to understand, is that there can be a reactive lymphocytosis without reactive lymphocytes. It's the cells are looking reactive, but they don't have reactive features yet. So they're just starting to like do a little bit of a reactive thing here and a reactive thing there, but they're not full on reactive lymphocytes yet.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
think
we mean.
When we make, so like when we have criteria like calling reactive lymphs or atypical lymphs, whatever the institution chooses to do, we need to have a uniformity amongst our techs, the people that we work with. So when Melissa and I do a diff, we get statistically and clinically within a similar range, right? Like we tell the same narrative of the blood smear. And so my eye might pick up little details, right? And I can use those to help inform me as I move through the diff. But to be consistent, for us to call a reactive lymph, we need that deep basophilia and that large cell size. And the nucleus should also be affected by that, the stretch and the pseudopod formation. So I can see features, but not the complete package to make the call, if that makes sense. And yeah, then that can seem unfair to students, and I could agree with them. Life is totally not fair.
I mean, if their professors are probably not mean enough to give them a reactive lymphocytosis without reactive lymphocytes.
Yeah,
they're probably going to get like an infectious mono slide if they're going to get anything like that. So it's not as if on an exam they're going to see something like this, but something like this is definitely something they're going to see in practice.
Yeah. And to be honest, if I have a student that's overcalling things like this, it's not a terribly large problem. And I'm actually, for the most part, comfortable, right? And so when I'm doing an assessment and I'm grading, I'm going to take points off, right? But I like what the student's seeing, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
what we need to do is just train that uniformity between text. That's the last piece of the puzzle. So I would appreciate that you see them or see those features, but you need to follow procedure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, I think that's all we have for this slide. So thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for your time. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you'd like notifications whenever we post a new video. And feel free to reach out to us on social media or via email with comments or suggestions about future content. Thanks.